Good morning, Spark friends, and happy hump day. Today is Wednesday, so you know what that means. It's time for another Spark story. Okay, so last week, if y'all will remember, we started a little project. We decided that we were going to read books from around the world, and we started off way over here in Texas, and we traveled to the continent of Europe and the country of Scotland, and we read a story about this really cute little dog who had an interesting place to live. So if you missed the story, you can still see it on our Facebook page, and I recommend that you go listen to it because it was a good one. Well, today we are going to keep traveling, and we're going to go to places in Asia like Mongolia, Pakistan, and Thailand. Then we're going to go way down here to the continent of Australia, out in the South Pacific to an island called Papua New Guinea. Then we're going to travel over here to Kenya and on the continent of Africa, and we're going to end up in Peru on the continent of South America. So let's get started, friends. We're going to do all of that traveling with just one book. And the title of our book for today is My Librarian is a Camel. Is your librarian a camel? Mine's not either, but it sure would be interesting. All right, this book is written by a lady named Marguerite Rurs. Now, because we're going to be reading stories from around the world, some of them are countries that don't speak English. So some of the names are going to sound a little funny to us. But what we're going to do is just sound them out the best way we can and just know that it doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, so we're starting in Kenya. And here is a picture of the camels with their packs on their backs. Let's see what happens. Okay, the roads to Bula Iftin, 200 miles northeast of Nairobi, are impassable because of the desert sand. Even cars with four-wheel drive can't make it. So, because young people in those areas are hungry for books, the librarians use an economical means to transport the books. They use camels. Very creative. Library camels are busy animals. They are on the road 5 days a week. They can carry heavy loads of books, and they need very little water on the road because they store water in their humps. One camel can carry as many as 500 books, weighing about 400 pounds. That's a lot of books, friends. A driver and a librarian divide the books into 2 boxes. They saddle them on the backs of the camels and then cover them with a grass mat to protect the books from the sand. The second camel carries a tent that serves as the library's roof. The students in Bula Iftin eagerly await the arrival of the camels. When the library caravan finally reaches the village, the children watch as the librarian pitches a tent and displays the books on the wooden shelves. The librarian places the grass mats on the ground in the shade of an acacia tree so that the children will have a nice place to sit and read their books. And I'm betting that's an acacia tree. And this is the village. And look how happy they look to have received their books. The students can treasure their books for up to 2 weeks. When the library camels return, the children have the opportunity to trade them for new ones, just like at your library. Okay, so our next stop is Mongolia. Now, Mongolia is way up north on the continent of Asia, and it can get pretty cold up there. For centuries, the people of Mongolia have led a nomadic lifestyle. That means that they travel around a lot. They move across the steep and vast grass-covered plains with their herds. Many people are still herders of livestock today, moving their herds as they graze on fresh grass in different places. The life of the nomads has not changed very much since the old days, except that nowadays the herders like to use iron horses. We would call those motorcycles instead of real horses. Very few people have telephones, television, or access to computers, but most people can read. There is almost no illiteracy in the country. So a man by the name of Jambin Dong Dog, I told you the names were kind of funny, is a well-known writer of children's books in Mongolia. He has been looking for a way to bring books to the many children of hurting families who live scattered across the Gobi Desert. He uses a horse-drawn wagon as well as a camel to carry the books across the desert. And here's a picture of his wagon. Here's the horse, and it's a covered wagon, like you might have seen in, Little House on the Prairie days. But they get their books via horse and carriage. Now, in Pakistan, also in Asia, the roads are a little bit better, and so they're able to use transportation like buses, and that's their mobile library there. There are not many libraries in Pakistan, and libraries for children are especially rare. So we're pretty lucky to have a children's library for us right here in our own schools. Most schools don't even have libraries there. That is why the Alpha Layla Book Bus Society ran a children's library in an old double-decker bus. I'll show you the picture of the bus in just a second. But in order to reach the children, they needed to put a mobile library on the roads. And so, thanks to the help of the Jersey and Guernsey Trust in the United Kingdom and the Save the Children Foundation, they now have a very popular bus that travels to schools. This bus is called the Storyteller. The bus carries about 6,000 books in English and in the language of Pakistan, which is Urdu, to the children in their schools. Some schools get a weekly visit, but in most places, the Storyteller bus can only come once every 2 weeks. This bus, full of books, has opened up a whole new world for the children. And here they are. Here's the bus, and here's what it looks like inside the bus. And here's a picture of the children waiting for their turn to get on the bus. So, pretty cool. Gosh, people have some very creative ways of delivering books. Okay, now here we are in Papua New Guinea. Now that's way down on the continent of Australia, and that's on an island in the South Pacific. So they're really isolated. In Papua New Guinea, no roads lead to the remote jungle hamlets, or to the schools that serve them. Volunteers from Hope Worldwide, a nonprofit charitable organization based in Philadelphia, right here in the United States, are committed to bringing books to people in this area of Papua New Guinea. They begin their journey in a 4x4 truck on a road cut deep into the steep hillside. After a long, bumpy ride, they eventually come to a village called, I think this is Goji Agji, which means up and down road. It means it's bumpy. And that's a perfect description for the surrounding landscape. The students and their teachers file out of the school to greet the volunteers. They are all excited about receiving new books, but the volunteers aren't done yet. They still have to reach further into the jungle, and they do that by foot. They unload the boxes and they take them on foot to the small villages in the highland. From there, they walk for 4 hours up the pass and over several ridges, crossing log bridges while carrying boxes of books. They head up the valley to where the trail stops. Along the way, people who live there work on the sugarcane plantations, and they'll come out and get books too. When they finally reach a little village called Amia, young people come running to meet them. The volunteers have come to help them start a library. The young people help carry books and supplies into the school. The volunteers have also brought, in addition to the books, they've also brought things like antibiotics and aspirin and some medicine to help the villagers. And here they are reading their books. And I have to tell you, friends, they look very happy to me to receive those books. You know, it's interesting. That's something that we all have in common all over the world. People like to read and learn about this wonderful world that God has created. In Peru, they receive their books via donkey. Now, Peru is a mountainous area, and so those donkeys are pretty sure-footed, and they can travel up those mountainous ridges to get to the children, and so that's why donkeys are used there. But in Thailand, they use something entirely different. Their books are delivered via an elephant. Now, I don't know about you, but if an elephant came to my house delivering books, I would be pretty happy. Okay, in Onki, a region in northern Thailand, there are no schools or libraries. So they really need these elephants. Tribal people cannot read or write. The government of Thailand hopes to change all of this with a literacy program that includes bringing books to remote villages in the jungle. A number of these villages can be reached only on foot. That makes transportation difficult, especially during the rainy season. How do they get books to people who need them most when they live in hard-to-reach mountainous regions in northern Thailand? Well, you guessed it. The elephants bring the books. Now more than 20 elephants in the Omki region are used to carry books. The elephant teams spend 2 and 3 days in each village. Each trip covers 7 to 8 villages, so it takes each elephant team about 18 to 20 days to complete their round-trip journey. The Books by Elephant delivery program serves 37 villages, providing education for almost 2,000 people in the Omki region. They have even designed special metal slates that won't break. Special metal plates that won't break on the elephant's back as they cross the rough terrain. Now, these slates are a lot like chalkboards. And so the teachers there in Thailand use those slate boards to teach the kids how to read and write. Like we use paper and pen, they use the slate chalkboards. So, wow, friends, we have been all over this world in this one book. Reading is so much fun, y'all, because we get to learn all about God's wonderful creation. It's an interesting world that we live in with lots of fascinating people and creatures to learn about. So this week, I hope you will make a trip to your library. Wishing it was a camel, that'd be kind of interesting. But even if it's not a camel, I hope you will make a special trip to your library and find a book that looks interesting to you and explore this wonderful world that God has created. All right, friends, I love y'all. Keep reading, and I'll see you next week. Bye.